Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. We have a lot of deaths from the Cemetery of Choice today, September 25th, including some habitual offenders from both before and after widespread legalization. And the most recent was from 1989. A young woman named Deborah was 35 years old when she underwent an abortion in the fall of 1989. On September 24th, about 3 weeks after the abortion, she was admitted to University Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama in septic shock. And despite efforts to save her, she died on September 25th. I have been unable to determine who performed her abortion. Then we moved back to 1986 and the notorious abortionist Leo Kenneally and his infamous Her Medical Clinic in Los Angeles. A 22-year-old immigrant named Liliana underwent a safe legal abortion performed by Kenneally on September 20th, 1986. Now, other than having asthma, Lillian was in good health prior to her abortion. After the procedure, she went into cardiac arrest. There was a 40-minute delay until paramedics arrived to transport her to the hospital, and she died 5 days later. Donna Heim and Michelle Thames also died after abortions at her medical clinic. Then going back in time to 1978, Life Dynamics identified a young woman named Minnie from her death certificate as having died from a safe legal abortion. She was 41 years old. She had a combination abortion and tubal ligation performed sometime in September. Her uterus was perforated and her colon was damaged. She developed an infection and died at Cleveland Clinic. Now we jump back to the illegal days, 1925 in Chicago. A 23-year-old clerk named Faye died in her home from complications of an abortion. Now, according to the Homicide in Chicago Interactive Database, which if you watch this channel, you know is not the most accurate source of information, she had the abortion performed that day. Who knows? The coroner identified two physicians, Walter Penningdorf and Walter Voigt, as being responsible for Faye's death. And choosing a physician in Chicago at the time would have been fairly typical. Both doctors were arrested on September 25th and indicted for felony murder on October 15th. Faye's husband, Roy, was also arrested as an accomplice. I've been unable to determine anything else about what happened, so like, share, subscribe, so I can get monetized and go to Chicago. And then, once again, keeps cropping up like a bad penny, Lucy Hagenow. This woman. At about 9 o'clock on the morning of September 25th, 1892, a 30-year-old named Sophia died at Cook County Hospital. She'd been brought there by ambulance the previous evening from Hagenow's practice on West Madison Street. So the news report said that the woman died from the result of a most cruel criminal operation is fairly well established, and an inquest today will beyond question reveal the details of what has every appearance of being little less than a butchery. Now, at the time, Hagenow was practicing under the name Louise Hagenow. If you've been following the channel, she was Louisa Hagenow in San Francisco, moved to Chicago, and began operating as Louise Hagenow, went to prison, and came out and rebranded herself as Lucy Hagenow. I tend to refer to her as Lucy Hagenow because it was the first name I encountered her under. Now, Hagenow and a woman named Ellen Hellew were arrested. Sophia's father identified them as responsible for his daughter's death. Sophia had been separated from her husband for about 2 years and had been living with her sister at the time of the pregnancy and abortion. Sophie's brother-in-law said that she had left home about 2 weeks earlier, complaining of being sick and in trouble. He does not believe that she sought out an abortion on her own, but believes that the baby's father pushed her into it. Now, while the police were at the practice interviewing Hagenow, Hellew rushed breathless into her apartments. When she saw Dr. Hagenow's interviewer, she exclaimed, "Don't say anything!" Then she sank exhausted upon a sofa. Now, Hagenow, again operating under the name Louise Hagenow, had been implicated in the abortion deaths of Louise Derchow, Annie Dories, Abia Richards, and Emma Depp in San Francisco before she came to Chicago. Then she was implemented in the death of Minnie Deering in 1891, Then we have Sophie, then Emily Anderson, Hannah Carlson, Marie Hecht, May Putnam, Lola Madison, and Annie Horvitich. Now, after Annie Horvitich's death, Hagenow got to spend some time in Joliet, supposedly rethinking her life choices. She decided not to learn from her previous mistakes, made up for lost time, because after she got out, in a little over a year, she was implicated in the deaths of Lottie Lowy, Nina Pierce, Jean Cohen, Bridget Masterson, Elizabeth Welter, and Mary Moorhead. Now, she managed to be convicted and sent to Joliet for the death of Mary Moorhead. She appealed twice. Her second appeal, she was given a new trial, but the judge took one look at her, said, "I do not think your months on earth are many, Lucy Hagenow. You had better make your peace with God." And she disappeared from public view. And like, share, subscribe. I want to go to Chicago, study the court records, the coroner's records, and find out how Lucy Hagenow was able to get away with so much for so long.